Kelly, was there anything that drove you crazy? Anything that made you ill during your pregnancy, or what was that like for you?
Well, I was pretty lucky. I did not get hit too terribly with morning sickness. My first pregnancy I did, and I don't know if it was placebo effect or I don't know if this is even medically recommended anymore, but I would do seasickness bands, B12, and a half a Unisom. And that was like my morning sickness cocktail. And I looked unbelievably cool.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, I think those are all great. I think B6 is more commonly recommended than B12. Vitamin B6 is also in prenatal vitamins. And so if you take that before, like as you're planning for your pregnancy, that has actually been shown to reduce the frequency or intensity of nausea or morning sickness. And so there's something about B6 that contributes to morning sickness in pregnancy. Unisom is a good one. That's a nighttime like sleep aid. It's like an antihistamine and that works well. Certainly eating small amounts, not letting yourself get hungry, because there's, stomach acid, and if it sits too long, it can make you feel bad. I think a lot of times people think, feel like carbs are better. They eat more carbs early on because it seems to be less disturbing. And that's okay. We're all afraid of carbs all the time, but it's okay.
Right.
And then certainly if you're not able to keep stuff down, right? If you're vomiting every day, multiple times a day, if you're not peeing normally, if you feel absolutely terrible all the time, you definitely should talk to us, because there are conditions of pregnancy, or nausea and vomiting of pregnancy that become severe enough that you need prescription medications, IV fluids. There's sort of a spectrum, but we have things to help. So other sort of like home remedies, I think ginger. I recommend a lot of ginger to people.
Yeah. I hear that one often too. I don't know why. That must be a secret weapon for a lot of women out there. I think that's great.
I think so.
Dr. Harsha, just follow up to that. Like, what is it with that? Why the smells? Why is that sometimes, like, certain smells can drive women crazy too? What's going on with that at certain times as well?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know if it's exactly known.
Okay.
I think the general idea is that women are in a particularly heightened state of sensitivity to things in their food and their environment in a way that is supposed to protect the viability or like allow the pregnancy to continue and be safe.
Yeah.
And so if you kind of imagine, like, we are descended from people who ate berries and raw meat and, they were just kind of foraging around. The sensitivity to smell and being able to distinguish between things that are safe and unsafe would help. So sort of a heightened nausea little center in your brain.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that things that you think smell bad are unsafe.
Right.
Not all like biological things that we've developed are super helpful, but I think that's probably the idea.
Okay, got it. Did either of you have any weird cravings for food?
I was all about the carbs, and Cliff Bar makes these like little mini bars, and I ate those. I like pop those things like candy. What about you?
Okay.
I kind of wanted to have cravings because I thought it would be a fun thing, but I don't really remember. I remember not being hungry, honestly, a lot of time, just not knowing what I wanted to eat. But it's important to eat. It's important to eat about 200 to 400 extra calories a day. It's not eating for two, it's just eating 2 extra snacks. But yeah, I don't really remember that.
Okay.
All right. I have a question about exercise during pregnancy. And I think we have a question in the chat too that I want to make sure we get to.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple of conflicting things. Like when I was pregnant, this was 10 years ago, I was told to, like, once I hit like 5 or 6 months, probably ease back on the running, because I've always been a big runner. Nowadays, I hear that's, if you're a runner, keep running. And I'm curious, like, what is the science? What are people saying now?
Yeah. I don't know if there's science in the sense that there's studies where they've said, okay, hey, you guys run and you guys don't run, and looked at the results. But what we know from real world experience is that people who are able to do something prior to pregnancy without difficulty are generally able to continue doing that throughout pregnancy up until basically the time that they deliver, unless they develop a medical complication, right? There are things that can go wrong with pregnancy that are not your fault or not because you exercised, but maybe you have now high blood pressure or you have a problem with your placenta or something like that. And we may say, hey, you got to back off. Again, it kind of goes back to that we're descended from people who like foraged in the woods, right? And there are people all over the world that carry 60 pounds of water on their heads every day for 5 miles while they're pregnant. Right. So we are extremely resilient as a human race. If you don't want to do too much in pregnancy, it's okay. Don't pick up running for, training for a marathon. Move your body every day in a way that feels good.
Great question. And I'll read the one that came through on the chat. Is it okay to stop taking prenatal vitamins when pregnant if it is causing you intense nausea?
Yeah, that's tough. I think a lot of times it's the iron in the prenatal vitamin, nausea and constipation, that is particularly a problem. And so sometimes I will encourage people to either find one without iron or just have them take folic acid alone rather than taking it combined, and then paying attention to getting as much of your good nutrients in your food as possible.
Okay, great question. I don't think there was any other ones that came in that I saw. Okay. Well, I tell you what, that wraps it up, but I always like to put in a plug just to let everyone know that if you're out there thinking about starting a family, if you're looking to start a relationship with a women's health provider, we'd love to see you here at Lakewood Health System. We have over 20 women's health providers, physicians on staff. We have 4 GYNs as well. You can go to our website at lakewoodhealthsystem.com, check out their profiles, read about them, find the one that you think feels like a good fit for you. And you can also go ahead and give us a call here at 218-894-1515 if you'd like to set up an appointment and come on in and see us. So we would love to see you. We know we've got someone here that would be a great fit for you, whether that's Dr. Harsha or one of our other providers as well too.